This is Matthew with Another World Terraria. Welcome to part 5 of my tutorial series on how to grow immersed Bucephalandra like a boss. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I planted this bin of Bucephalandra. By the way, if you stay tuned to the end of this video, you're going to see what these plants look like after 5 months of growth. Let's get started with the tutorial now. I've got my drill here with my plastic drilling bit. This right here is a Rubbermaid storage 30 quart. It's got a clear lid, and I'm going to drill a couple small holes. This is, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch or a little bit smaller drill bit, and I'm just going to drill a couple holes. I don't want to drill too much because the Buce like a lot of humidity. I just want enough that there's a small amount of ventilation. So I'll do like 3 holes. As you can see, I did 3 small ventilation holes near the top on this end, and I also did the same on the opposite end. That will be enough for now. I will go ahead and add more later if I feel that I want more ventilation. I'm going to put a small amount of substrate into the container now, then we're going to put the plants in, and then we'll fill in with some more substrate. So I'm going to be adding fluval stratum. I have about 3/4 of an inch of fluval stratum in the tub, and now I'm going to start placing some plants in here. I have a number of different Bucephalandra that I have been growing in deli containers for some time, so I just grow them in these deli containers in different sizes, and I cut little holes in them or drill holes in them. So this has been growing in there for quite some time, and I'm ready to put this one in to a larger container. I'll show you a couple other ones as we plant them. I'm going to leave off as much of the old stratum as I can. It does have a little bit of algae in it and some other stuff, and I'd rather start fresh. There's a little bit of mold too, so might as well try and get rid of some of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place the plants in the bin like so, and then we'll kind of rearrange them, and then I'll actually worry about putting them down into the substrate. Here's another really nice Buce here. This one's super dark. It's almost a pure black. This plant right here, this one is absolutely stunning. The foliage is blue and purple and all kinds of different colors. This was featured in a video a while back that was bringing this back from the dead almost. It was close to death, and I brought it back, so you can check that out. Alright, here we go. Got this one right here. Has been growing in a plastic bag for a couple years actually. And I actually grew this one in sphagnum. I don't use sphagnum for Buce anymore. I used to. It was just a experimental thing, and it seemed to work, and that's what I did. But then I learned about fluval stratum from a friend. I'm going to pull away a bunch of this sphagnum moss and some of this moss that I don't want. Alright, I've zoomed the camera in a little bit and increased the exposure slightly. Hopefully that's better. And I cleaned the plant up a little bit and removed a bunch of the sphagnum, so that one's good to go. Got this mini. It's actually down, there's sphagnum moss here, and the mini's kind of down in there, so I'm going to pull that one out of all of here, all of this sphagnum, and get the little tiny plants out of there. There you go, there's the little micro Buce. I'm going to mist these with some distilled water, keep the humidity up while I'm working with this. Got another little container of the micro Buce. This is just a really nice clump, has been growing in here, but it's getting to the edge of the container. There's a nice liverwort in there too. I can't remember what this is. Got another ultra micro Buce here. I think this might be the same species as the tiny piece I just was looking at. Let's go ahead and put this guy down here. There's some nice moss growing in here. Just dump that in. Here's something really cool. I got some Bucephalandra a while back, and in the clumps of Bucephalandra that I got, because I got some pretty big clumps, was this little shrub or tree of some sort. It's grown quite a bit since I got it. They were really tiny in the beginning. They were like really small. Anyway, so this is some kind of tree or shrub from the same area that the Bucephalandra grow in the forest and the rivers, and it's very shrubby. It's got like woody stems right here, and I don't know how big it gets, but it looks really cool, and I'm happy to have it. It was in a shallow bin with a lid just over the top, and it's been growing up against the top. So what I'm going to do is pop it in this taller bin here and let it grow. Okay, I think we're ready to actually plant these, so I will mess around with the positioning and kind of find where I think that they would fit well.
A common question I'm asked is how deep to plant the buce and where to put the rhizome and roots in relation to the substrate. The rhizome is the part of the stem that grows horizontally, and the roots come vertically down from that. You're going to want to plant them so the rhizomes are just above the substrate and the roots are going to be just covered by the substrate. Avoid putting any substrate on top of the rhizomes because this tends to cause rot.
Some really nice moss and some liverwort here. I'm just going to pull that away from this tiny Bucephalandra and move it over towards the bigger ones and let it grow in over here. Now I'm ready to make sure that these are planted well, so I've got a small container of Bucephalandra, and it's easier to just go in here and you can just kind of pour it around the plants, cover up any roots that are exposed. Can always make adjustments, but it's just easier to go in here and do it this way, I found. I've got my aquascaping tool here. I'm just going to use the narrow end to adjust the substrate where I want it. Now I'm going to put some water in here, so I'm just going to set this cup right here, and I'm just going to take my distilled water and pour it in. Now that I added the water, I realized I need to make an adjustment. So the bigger buce are a little bit higher up, and the water is sort of flooding the smaller guys a little bit more than I'd like. So I'm going to pull the small ones up a little bit and add some more Fluval to bring them up out of the water slightly. They can grow in the water, but I just would rather them kind of be up a little higher. I'm just going to pick them up, throw them over here temporarily, and pour some substrate in.
Another question I've been asked a few times is if I'm using plants that were already grown immersed or if I'm transitioning submersed grown plants to immersed growth. The answer is both. The submersed grown plants do take longer to adapt, but it should go well as long as the conditions are to their liking.
I've got some 1/4-inch lava rock here, and I'm going to put it around some of the plants. I found that some of the buce seem to really like it. The small guys I'm going to pull up a little bit so that they're out of the water a little bit more and more kind of on top of the lava rock, because I found that many of the really tiny ones seem to grow better when they're more up on the rock as opposed to like really being down in the water, at least for the immersed culture. Another thing I like about this lava rock is that it makes the plant stand out a little bit more from the fluval stratum, so you can see the plants better and it's more attractive. And additionally, when you have the lava rock slightly above the water level like this, there's less likely to be like an algae coating. I'm just going to grab these tiny ones, pull them up a little, and kind of give them a little area to sit on top of the lava rock. Okay, I'm going to get these off to a good start with some fertilizer. I use this Osmocote Plus right here. Just going to take some of this, I'm going to put it in the cap here. And then what I do is I take tweezers, got these long aquascaping ones, I just grab one little BB here, one little pellet, and I just go down near the roots of the plant and I insert it underneath the surface of the substrate. Just go push it down underneath the lava rock and underneath the fluvol stratum. For some of these bigger plants, I'll give them 2 pellets or sometimes 3 for really big clumps, and I'll just place it down in there. I'll give these little tree shrub things a little fertilizer. It's important to put this fertilizer underneath the substrate surface, because if you put it on top in the water where it's just wet on the surface, you're going to get a lot more algae. You'll still get some algae possibly, but it will be a lot less. And typically there's not that much algae if you're growing Buce in a really dim lighting setup, which is probably what I'll be doing with these. The following thing is just something I like to do. It's totally optional, but I'm going to put some springtails in here. I like to put them in there because they help control mold, stuff like that. They just keep things healthy and clean up, and so just dump them in, and now we're ready to put the lid on, and then we can put this under the light and get it going. Now here is the bin about 5 months after planting. Plants have now grown in. As you can see, the tree over here has gotten quite large. The other ones, for some reason, aren't as big, but they're starting to pick up the pace. You can see the Buce clumps have really filled in. A lot of plants are blooming. Got some really nice coloration. Beautiful purples. And really like this oval leaf one over here too. Nice coloration on these. And I love these little thin-leaved ones. Also, you can see the moss and liverworts and things have filled in. There is some algae on the surface, but it's not too much of a problem. So, doing good.